صلى الله عليه وسلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah the Almighty says. Now this means that this hadith is a Qudsi hadith. So what's the difference between Qudsi hadith and the verses of the Quran? Scholars have many interpretations and explanations, but the most authentic opinion is that the Qudsi hadith, the wordings and the meanings are all from Allah. So what's the difference between it and the Quran? Number one, that it is not as miraculous as the Quran. So there's a challenge that started when the Quran was revealed to all of the jinn and the humans to produce something like it if they can, and they will never be able to, and the challenge still stands. While in the Qudsi hadith, there's no such challenge. Secondly, you cannot recite anything in the salat, in your prayer, except the Quran. But you cannot recite al-Qudsi hadith in the salat. Your salat would be invalid. So these are the two most important points to differentiate between the two. Now, Allah says in the Qudsi hadith,
وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول الله تعالى أنا عند ظن عبدي بي وأنا معه إذا ذكرني فإن ذكرني في نفسه ذكرته في نفسي وإن ذكرني في ملأ ذكرته في ملأ خير منهم وإن تقرب إلي شبرا تقربت إليه ذراعا وإن تقرب إلي ذراعا تقربت إليه باعا وإن أتاني يمشي أتيته هرولة.
Indeed, I am as my servant presumes me to be. What does that mean? We have fear and we have hope. And this definitely refers to the side of hope, because no one assumes or thinks of Allah that He will punish him. Allah is not telling you to do this. Rather, He's telling you to think positively of Allah Azza wa Jal. So, Allah says, and I am with him when he remembers me. Allah Azza wa Jal is with us all, Muslims and non-Muslims. And this is general, as they call it in Arabic, ma'iyyah. But He's with us, specifically the believers, with His power and strength and victory and guidance, which is not with the others, generally speaking. So Allah Azza wa Jal is with him when he remembers me, He says. So if He remembers me to Himself, I remember Him to myself. And if He remembers me amongst a company, I remember Him among a company greater than it, the angels and those in Allah's congregation. And if He draws near to me the span of a hand, what is the span of a hand? This, from here to here. This is a span of a hand. We call it in Arabic shibr. If He draws to me the span of a hand, I draw near to Him the span of an arm. And if He draws to me, or near to me, the span of an arm, I draw near to Him the span of two outreached arms. And if He takes a step towards me, I hastily step towards Him. So this hadith shows you that Allah Azza wa Jal is reaching out to us. And the more we do, the more Allah Azza wa Jal does for us. Now, one may think that how can we understand this hadith? Is it as it states that if we draw nearer to Allah Azza wa Jal the span of a hand, He draws nearer to us the span of an arm? Or is it metaphorical? And we, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, try as best as we can to stay away from metaphors, because then we will be changing the Quran and the Sunnah and say, no, this is not what it means. This is not what it sounds like. Allah does not rise above the arsh in al-istiwa. Allah does not descend to the lower heaven when it's the last third of the night. This is all metaphoric. No, we don't say this. We say that everything is as it sounds and reads, because this is in Arabic. So how can we understand this hadith? Well, we understand this hadith as we see that it has two parts. If the servant of Allah draws nearer to Allah the span of a hand, Allah draws nearer to him the span of an arm. So the first question would be, does the servant of Allah draw nearer to Allah the span of a hand? Literally? Or the span of an arm? Literally? Does he walk to Allah literally? The answer is no. Nobody understands this. So we understand it in the sense that all Arabs do, that because it's not true that one comes to Allah the span of a hand or an arm, rather it is an indication that the servant of Allah is doing so much to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal with good deeds. Allah in return does the same with good reward, with mercy, with a lot of favors and blessings from His side. So this is the beauty and the greatness of remembering Allah Azza wa Jal. Yet there are others. There is another group of scholars who said, no, we have to understand this literally. So there's nothing wrong in attributing to Allah Azza wa Jal that He draws nearer a span of a hand or an arm, and that Allah Azza wa Jal walks to brisk walking to His servant. This can be understood literally. Either way, it is accepted with the grace of Allah with Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
صلى الله على محمد صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم